You're listening to the Into the Woods podcast with your hosts, Dermott and Michael. Let's get into it.
Wonderful chase by Hinshaw.
Cox again. I cannot believe it. Dacos nearly runs out of room. He's goal.
Jamie Elliott has won the game of footy for this famous club.
Slap for Nick Dacos. He's going to be the hero. The little champ is going to pick the winner.
Here's the Goey moment. He unloads. Bang! You need your stars. And Collingwood stars just went and wrenched the cup back.
Welcome to Into the Woods. I'm your host Dermott, and for the next hour or so, we'll be talking about all things Collingwood. If you want to join in the conversation, be sure to follow our socials. You can find us on X at Into the Woods Pod and on Instagram at Into the Woods Pod 10. As always, I'm joined by the one and only Michael. How are you, Mick?
Good, thank you. That's very lame, so I'm embarrassed for you. Yeah, good. I wanted to talk about something, but Dermott's asked me to hold my fire just for the moment.
Hold off.
Yeah, I'm holding off.
Hold off, man. Come on.
You are talking to the one and only Michael, as you point out. So bit of respect, please.
So we're hopeful, and this may not happen because I need to work out how to do it, but we're hopeful that the audio to this podcast will be on YouTube for the first time. So if you found us on YouTube, welcome. In the future, we would like to post videos. We've got a nice little setup here, which you may see in the next week or so.
His mother's spare bedroom is the nice new setup. But anyway,
that is correct. So yes, hello to our YouTube viewers, and yeah, you can find us on Spotify and Apple Podcast at Into the Woods Pod. So if you want to go back and listen to all our previous episodes, you can do that. I think we did 29 last year, and this is our second one for the year. And we've got a big one coming up next week, midweek, maybe about Wednesday, Thursday will drop, and I'll let Michael get into that because that's what he wants to talk about.
Yeah, that's the big review. We spoke to Leon Davis last night. Very, very nice bloke. Very nice bloke. Very expansive in his answers too. It was quite a long podcast.
At about an hour 10. Yeah, very generous to give up his time.
And we were chatting to him. Just one thing I did want to say. We were kind of chatting to him after the podcast, and we had touched on his the 2010 grand final, the first one, and in his role in it and the aftermath. And we were talking about his goal, and he said, "Yeah, it was just another goal." But I just think that was a vital goal. Like all goals in grand finals, yes, of course, they're important. But I was at the game, and I was telling him that's probably the most excited and pumped up I've ever been at a Collingwood game after he kicked that goal. Because it was an underrated goal. It was actually a brilliant goal. People don't talk about how good it was. And also because he had been under a lot of pressure for his performances in grand final. And I was really happy for him when he kicked that goal because I said to him, because it put us 3 kicks up. It put us 14 points up. And at that moment, I thought to myself, this lot, they're not going to kick another 3 goals to beat us. I thought that was the winning goal. So as it turns out, they did peg us right back, as everybody knows. But without that goal, I don't think we go on to win. We don't get the flag that year.
Well, no, we don't.
No, we don't get the flag. I know you can say that probably about any goal, but I think that was just a vital goal. So he very much did play a big role in that premiership. And actually, I was that excited when I jumped up. I felt something pop. A popping sensation just on the side of my temple. I thought I was going to have an aneurysm. So I just felt for my chair behind me, lowered myself back down, and just told myself to calm down for the rest of the game, which was difficult because of the way things played out. But no, a great podcast, and hopefully midweek.
Well, yeah, about midweek, I reckon. I've listened back to it. I listened back to it last night. You'll get to hear it. I think it went really well. I was extremely nervous the whole time. I was nervous, and yeah,
Well,
I thought I'd made a bit of a meal of it. But listening back, I don't sound as nervous as I felt at the time. So
I didn't pick that you were nervous.
no, I was because I love Leon. I loved him growing up. He's probably in my top 5 players. From when I was about 10 to about 16 years of age. So he really was sort of in that group of players that were at their peak when I was an early teen. So that's sort of when you start to fall in love with football. So yeah, it was fantastic to talk to him, and we really appreciate that.
Okay, what's set for today?
All right. Well, we're going to start off, as always, with all the hot topics.
We've listened to the wisdom of Sir Winston Churchill and the brilliance of genius Albert Einstein. In the 60s, we heard the great JFK. Now, all the great minds are talking footy.
All right. So, in the last podcast, we talked a lot about Nick Dacos and his foot. Well, in every podcast, we talk a lot about Nick Dacos. I can see your face then. But especially because of his injury, he seems fine now. He's back in full training. He's kicking. He's running. He's looking good. He's looking sharp. I don't think there's anything to worry about. When I looked up the injury and you laughed at me, said, "Oh, you're not a doctor." I said it could either put you out for 8 to 12 weeks, maybe even longer, or it could literally just be an injury that you get over in like a few days, or maybe a couple of weeks, just through a rest. And he seems good.
Yeah, I wouldn't, from experience, you don't believe all the propaganda that comes out of football clubs, especially this time of year. Look, I'm trying not to be cast a negative vibe over it, but clubs historically have been a little bit reluctant to be fully honest when it comes to key injuries to key players, especially this time of year. For membership, if nothing else.
But the club never said anything about his injury. So this is just the eye test. This is just watching him at training. You can't fake that. Yeah. So that's a good segue to. I was watching the Black and White United live stream on YouTube on Thursday night. So everyone get around that. That's
Yes, I've watched a couple of episodes. It's a good podcast. I like his understated manner.
It's fantastic. It's fantastic. But he was saying during that we haven't really heard anything from the club, like we we're just saying, at all this year. Like, how many press conferences have you seen from the club? And how many times have you heard them talk about injuries or anything at all? Like, how many times have you heard from Craig McRae? How many times have you heard from Darcy Moore? Like, I'm seeing a lot of content.
Well, we've heard from Darcy's girlfriend, of course. Keeping a close watch on that.
But because I play fantasy football in Supercoach, and actually the reigning 11th ranked coach in Supercoach in Australia. But anyway,
we did tell him last year about the funny story how you didn't get into the top 10. The circumstances behind you not getting into the top 10.
Yeah, we won't get into that. But I am the 11th ranked coach in Supercoach. A side note to a side note, that is. So, but yeah, no. So I've heard a lot of content from a lot of different clubs because of the fantasy football that I play. But nothing really coming out of Collingwood. Nothing from Jared Wade, the head of fitness. We normally get a weekly sort of video from him. I know the season hasn't started, but there's been a lot of injury news. I just think it's a bit poor on Collingwood's behalf, actually. I'd like to hear more.
No, that's boring. So Dermott was busy setting up his new bedroom at the house he just moved into and forgot to replace an injured player in his fantasy team. Had he done so, he would have easily made the top 10. But anyway, keep on going. It's a better story than yours.
Well, it wasn't injured. It was Sam Flanders from Gold Coast was laid out due to illness. It was the middle of the season when I was ranked about 3K and didn't think I was anywhere near it. And yeah, I just moved house and I was setting up my bedroom and I forgot to check the final teams because he was a late withdrawal 90 minutes before the game. And then I found out that in the second quarter that he wasn't there, copped a 0. And as the season went on, I just started to dominate. I ended up finishing 11th overall. And I think it was about 40 points out of the top 10, which is where you get all your prizes in the top 10. And yeah, so I've not paying attention to those teams cost me. But people don't care about that, Mike.
But the good news is his bedroom looks fantastic.
It actually does.
It looks great.
It does. But yeah, so anyway, lift your game, Collingwood. We want to hear more. Like, we're hearing a lot of content through Andres from the Black and White United, through Swoop Luke. Through who's the guy Pies Footy, Anthony.
Anthony.
Yeah, and a lot of other track watchers on Twitter. We're hearing all this news through them. We want to hear something from the club. So, yeah. Anyway, but good signs from Nick. He's back in full training. That's exciting. So expect Brownlow year, because let's face it, I actually have a good feeling about his Brownlow chances this year in terms of...
As opposed to last year.
No, but I just think they're going to overcorrect the umpires, and they're not going to give Cripps as many votes because they knew that it was a bit embarrassing what happened last year. So I actually don't give Cripps much of a chance based off that.
Weren't Carlton fans pissed off that he didn't win the Dally M?
Right. So more injury news. Well, there was a bit of an injury scare a few days ago. So Jordan De Goey, there were reports that he grabbed his calf and he walked off training, and social media blew up and it was the end of the world. And it's like, oh my God, as soon as Nick's okay, Geordie goes down, why can't we get a good run at it? And got sent in for scans and came back. It was just I think knee on knee knock, and he's 100% fine. There's nothing wrong with him. And it's all systems go. Geordie's he's smashing the preseason the last few weeks, especially since he's got off his modified program. And that will continue, hopefully, fingers crossed. So we've got a fit Nick and a fit Geordie and a fit Josh Dacos, who's also back into full training after his calf injury. So it's looking good. Nothing to complain about there.
No, nothing. I don't know if you've got anything else to talk about.
I've got a lot more to talk about.
Well, can I just interject for a moment?
Mm-hmm.
You sent me a text this morning about Adam, the replacement for Derek Hine. We spoke about Derek Hine in the last episode and how I was very annoyed, and not the only one, to find out he'd been sacked like 14 months after he won the premiership. And he's been replaced. He had been replaced by Adam Shepherd, who apparently was being mentored by Derek Hine. Now,
he'd been at the club since 2012.
Been at the club since 2012. So they sacked Derek Hine with the idea of replacing with Adam Shepherd. Adam Shepherd, after the event, has now turned around and says, no, he's going to West Coast. So for the second year in a row, off field, we've been thrown into turmoil. It just smacks of unprofessionalism off the field without knowing the backstory, and I can see that. We
could have been completely blindsided by this. It could all be on this guy.
Just like we were blindsided by Graham.
No, we weren't blindsided, and that was stupid.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
This time we could have been completely blindsided.
Yeah, I know, but it's 2 years in a row, and I think it probably hurt us last year because at the last minute we had to shuffle the deck chairs in the Titanic. And it's funny, I'm going to touch on the Titanic later on.
The Titanic is probably in my top 2 to 3 favorite movies of all time. Are you going to bag it or?
No, the event, not the movie. Oh. It's so typical of your life. Jesus, you got a mind like a goldfish. No. I was listening to a podcast the other day, and the rest is history. A really good podcast. 2 English intellectual types. They just sit down. They talk about the history of world events. And they were talking about the iceberg and the Titanic. The iceberg that hit the Titanic, that only melted fully, they reckon, in the early 2000s. So it hit the Titanic in 1912. Yep, it was still roaming around looking for another victim for the next 8 years.
Never forgive that iceberg for killing Jack.
Yes, okay, moving on. But it was funny, they had a...
Do you reckon he could have fit on that door? Rose just spread. Have you never seen the actual movie?
I've never watched the movie.
You've never watched the movie?
Well, I don't particularly like Leonardo DiCaprio.
Oh, mate, you got to watch it. It's a classic.
Yeah, no, I'll see it.
If you've got to spare 3.5 hours, then...
Yeah, I'll get right to it this afternoon. But they had a inquiry into the tragedy, of course, at both New York and England. They had their separate inquiries. In the English one, they had some high-ranking lawyer grilling this young seaman on the Titanic, and he was really grilling him about his role in it and what he saw and what he didn't see, what he should have done and what he didn't do. And he asked him about the iceberg. The guy said to him, "What was the iceberg made of?" And the private looked a bit confused. He said, "Ice, I suppose, sir." Okay,
so let's move on. We're in the middle of hot topics at the moment. I know.
I found that very
Something
funny.
that happened in 1912 probably doesn't fit in the hot topic.
Yeah, so no, it's just it's a coincidence we mentioned Titanic, but I found that particularly funny. I suppose. So.
Okay.
But keep on going.
So Nick's back, Josh is back, Geordie's back. Tom Mitchell's back running. So on Swoop Luke's last video, which I think was yesterday, he was back running, still in his sneakers, not in his footy boots yet, but that's positive signs. I still don't think we should rush him back. I would probably start him through to VFL because of his limited pre-season. But hopefully we can see him in a side around round 5 or 6 is when I would be targeting it. McStay was another injury scare. It came off limping. I wasn't really. It was going off on Twitter. I think similar to how Jordan De Goey's one was. But I wasn't seeing that live because I was busy at the time. I saw afterwards, after it was confirmed that it was just a corky, so nothing to worry about there with Dan McStay. Dimatina apparently had a big head knock, a head clash with Will Parker, and still haven't heard anything about how he's going. Came off the ground, apparently didn't look very good. Once again, the club not communicating with us, so we have no idea. But hopefully young Harry is okay. And Reef hasn't been training lately, which is, once again, we don't know what's wrong with him. Club won't tell us. Club won't tell us anything. But hopeful that he's okay, considering what a great pre-season he's had so far, and I guess how important he could potentially be to the makeup of our back six. Anything to say about any of those injuries?
No, I hadn't heard of most of that. That's only happened in the last couple of days.
Yeah.
The head knock to Dimatia and Reef going. No, hadn't heard. I'd heard the De Goey one, of course. But as you say, it looks like there was just knee on knee. So yeah, we just.
It's good overall.
Yeah,
it's good.
Overall,
it's good.
It's just with De Goey, you're always just thinking it's a. Soft tissue is going to come around at any moment. Just so long as let's get him fit and firing, hopefully for finals. Even if it means managing him to a certain extent, like Geelong did. If we get to a position like Geelong did in 2022, when they were able to manage guys like Dangerfield and Selwood and have them fit and firing to go in September. Maybe we look at Jordan De Goey a bit in that group now.
It's just going to be a week to see how it's going, because at the moment he's as fit as anything, and he's in the prime of his career age.
I know. We need.
Those Dangerfield and Selwood are in their 30s at that point.
No, I realise that, but De Goey's got a bit of a body like a 30-year-old. But I can see we have to have runs on the board to do that. We're going to have to get Banks some early wins.
Well, his comments on 7 News the day of the knee on knee about how he's as fit as he's ever been. I think he feels like a new man since he's been overseas. Like, that was exciting. I'm hoping that we get the same consistency out of him than what we saw from Christian Petrarca in 2021, because they're very similar types of players, same age. I'm really excited about what Geordie can do. I think we said the same thing last pre-season when we first started this pod. But
you take those comments with a grain of sand. I remember Shane Warne going on about his shoulder's never been better. This is about 96, 97, just before I went bang.
Yeah, I know, but it is good signs. And he also said that this list, 2025, is better than 2023, which I kind of agree with, because it's almost the same list, but with guys like Houston and Perryman and Membry and our boy Schultz. And I think there's someone else I'm forgetting as well.
Well, somebody said the other week, Dan McStay.
Dan McStay, Dan McStay.
Even though he's been there 2 years, he's almost like a new recruit.
He is.
Because he's played so little football for
him
us.
and Mychek have played, I'm pretty sure it's less than 10 games together. Yeah. And then you add in Membry alongside them too. Jeez. It's exciting. Because Membry and McStay are just ripping the preseason to shreds at the moment. Like, I think Swoop Luke said that he'd been to... At that stage, I think it was 18 training sessions, and Dan McStay had not dropped a mark since he had been there. He's clunking everything, and Tim Membry, it sounds like he's our best trainer at the moment. Like, he's going to be unbelievable for us. Imagine back when he was in the Ross Lyon teams, like, he kicked 30 goals last year, and he had the worst coach to kick goals, basically. The Saints were just chipping it around, not getting inside 50 quick enough. It's not an easy life as a forward with that kind of game. But imagine Collingwood with the way that we play, and then you got Dacos and De Goey and Pendlebury and Houston and all these guys kicking it down to him nice and quickly. He could have his career best season at 31 years of age.
Yeah, look, obviously, hopefully, but and I don't want to sound like a broken record, but you know who else is
Mr. Negative?
No, not at all. Not at all. But you know who else is flying in the preseason from what I heard here?
Yep, go on.
Jake Stringer. Jake Stringer is, and this is a guy who's kicked 42, 43 goals last year. I know I've said this before. We could have got him for literally nothing. We could have paid him bugger all, and we chose not to. And look, every time we played Essendon, my biggest fear going into those games was always Stringer. Okay? Love him or hate him or whatever, he's a very good footballer on his day. And yeah, apparently GWS are pretty excited about how he's training.
Fair enough, but
anyway,
I would rather Tim Membry, if I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, well, time will tell. Anyway, moving on.
I think Stringer's more likely to backfire than what Membry is.
Yeah, more likely to backfire, but his ceiling's so much higher.
Is it?
Well, I think so. Anyway, time will tell. Hopefully I'm wrong.
A player I want to talk about, and we've already mentioned him a couple of times, I think last episode, Beau McCreery. Like, I've seen a bit of training footage on YouTube, and every time I see the training footage, he just stands out. Like, I am super hot on him this year. He's my boy this preseason. He is going to go nuts. He's going to go nuts. I'm thinking he's going to be a high half forward to wing, and I honestly believe he will get spurts in the midfield. Just he's not going to be a full-time midfielder, but you might see him in the occasional CBA, and far out. Like, he's strong and he's aggressive and his tackling pressure's insane, and he breaks the lines, and I know you always talk about, he gets less than 10 disposals a game most games, and what he does with those 10 disposals is normally pretty good and damaging, but you would like to see him go more to that 15 to 20 mark. I think he will. He's going to get more opportunity, I think, playing further up the ground. I reckon you'll see those numbers rise, even if it is just bang smack 15 for the game. If 10 of those are effective,
if he's getting 15 possessions, he's hurting the opposition.
He's a bull. And everything I hear from the content creators on YouTube and Twitter and stuff, a lot of people believe he will be playing a lot more time in midfield too and wanting that. So I'm not alone, and you're not alone wanting that. Like, he's exciting this year, and a smoky for the All-Australian team, because you saw Dylan Moore make it last year from the Hawks as a high half forward that kind of plays that role. Not as explosive as Beau. Overall, a better player. I'm not going to be biased. Like, Dylan Moore's a gun. Beau's probably got more potential.
Are you saying he's a smoky for the All-Australian team?
Beau McCreery, yeah. To play that kind of...
This is another big... this is the biggest statement you've made since Billy Frampton should be in the All-Australian squad in April last year.
I was a bit excited at that point. No, but this time I've had time to actually think about it.
Big statement. An 8 possession a game player.
No, well, that's what I'm saying. He won't be that 8 possession.
No, that's what I'm saying. From going from an 8 possession a game player to All Australians, a big league.
I'm not saying he will be All Australian. No. If I was to predict my All Australian team right now, he wouldn't be in it. But he's a smoky.
Okay.
He's a smoky because of that.
Interesting.
The Dylan Moore high half forward got rewarded with an All Australian blazer last year.
So you're saying
McCreery?
Yeah, okay. So you're saying he's every bit as good as potentially as Dylan Moore is.
Not yet, but
which I agree with.
Dylan Moore's an underrated gun. I'm not sure how often you've sat down and watched Dylan Moore, but he's a very good player.
I know he's a good player.
Yeah, so nowhere near Dylan Moore standards yet, and slightly different types, but they will be playing, I reckon, a similar position. And I think the potential of McCreery, could see him push for that All-Australian team.
But fingers crossed for Billy Frampton this year for Australian.
Shut up. I want to talk about the rookies, just the two of them, because I'm not sure if old Joel Cochran is training yet. I haven't heard anything about him. I don't think he is. But Charlie West apparently is looking fantastic. We did a bit of match sim the other day, and he kicked 3 goals. I saw a bit of footage of him outmarking Darcy Moore. Looked really good.
Oh, right.
But kind of, it wasn't just your traditional lead up, mate. He was going back with the flight, Jonathan Brown-like, I may add, a bit like that track watcher said that he reminded him a bit of Jonathan Brown, the one I mentioned that last pod. And yeah, kicked 3 goals, and there's a lot of hype around him. So, hopefully he starts to come good around about the time when my check and memory
dropping off.
Dropping off. So that's good. But the one I really want to talk about is young Will Hayes. He's been destroying this preseason.
Is that you sent me footage of him?
I did
the other day. Yeah, he's run and carry.
Yeah, he crumbed the ball off McStay, a really good crumb. Took 4 bounces down the wing at absolute full pace as well, and then he kind of pulled the kick last second as he was kicking inside 50, hit Elliott on the chest. It's honestly, that is the most exciting footage I've seen come out of the preseason so far.
And he was the Swans Academy player.
No, that was Cochrane.
Oh, okay, right,
yeah.
Fair enough. So who's this guy? What's his background?
Will Hayes.
Yeah, Will Hayes.
What's his background? He's from WA, I believe. Yeah,
WA,
he's the one that had that video of his mum and dad and sister.
Oh, that was him. Yeah.
That was
him.
him.
I don't know one from the average man because I'm.
Just a bit of a shout out to Will Hayes. I got in contact with him not long after he got drafted, trying to get him on the pod. It would be interesting to get a current player, maybe especially a young guy that's trying to break into the team. And I will say I've messaged a lot of players, and out of the current group, haven't heard back from any of them except Will Hayes. Really, really nice guy. Really polite. He was really polite. So I think we've got a good one there. He's one of my boys already, Will Hayes.
One to watch.
And that footage of him running down the wing, that's not the only thing. There's been a lot of videos come out of him, so that wasn't like a one-off thing. He's been in everything. He's had a really good preseason so far. Here's one for you. Apparently Steele has been training a bit, Steele Sidebottom of this, has been training as a half forward. Well, spending a bit of time as a half forward. Not sure if he's been training with the forward group a lot, but we saw him play a bit of defence last year. He's also his traditional wing spot and as a tagger. I know you don't look happy at the moment, but you've been saying for a few years you would like to see him as a forward, so I don't know why.
Yeah. Well, the only thing I'm thinking was, I was talking to my friend George about this the other day, and we're just theorising that had he transitioned into that run with player in the midfield earlier in the year, what could have been? Like the last 4 or 5 weeks when he went on ball and was tagging the likes of Lockie Neal and Goulden from the Swans.
Jack Viney, he did a good job on it.
Exactly, yeah. Now, so maybe that's position, because I just thought to myself that what if he'd been on Zach Merritt those 2 times we played him? Anzac Day match, drawn game, Zach Merritt gets mid-30 possessions, running around with his own footy, and still Sidebottom sat on him. He wouldn't have got mid-30s. He might have got low 20s. Yeah. We win that game. I know it's all, sliding doors moments. And in the second time we played them, it was very similar. Zach, they beat us second, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, and Zach Merritt was very good again. So maybe that's a role for it. It's not a role you deploy every week. It depends on the opposition. But I'd like to see him continue that role.
Can I give you my opinion on what role I could see still playing this year?
No, this podcast is just about my opinions, doesn't it?
So I think our last pod of last year, when I did my predicted 23, I said that I'm putting 5 players on the bench because the sub won't be around. Because all the logic in the world said the sub's going to go. The fans wanted it gone. The coaches wanted it gone. The players wanted it gone. The media wanted it gone. Everybody wants it gone. It's just it's a pointless rule. But in typical Laura Kane and Andrew Dillon style, they decided to keep...
I wanted it.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
The sub's useless. But in typical Kane and Dillon fashion, they kept it when nobody wanted it, except Michael, sort of 3 stooges. And... Yeah, it's a bit like the buys. Nobody wants to buy, so what do? They give us more buys. Nobody wants opening round. What do? They continue to give us opening round. Morons. But anyway, so the sub's there. And after I finished my whining about the sub staying, which probably was me whining for about 2 weeks, I thought to myself, how can we attack the sub role this year? And to me, I think Steele Sidebottom could be the perfect kind of tactical sub that we see almost weekly, and the reason being that I love Steele, but he's not the player he once was. He just simply isn't. I would love to see guys like Ed Allen, for example, be a regular in the 22 and be ahead of Steele. I reckon the thing about Steele is you have him on the bench for a half or 3/4 or whatever. He can be on the bench. He can be like an extra coach from there. Then he comes onto the ground and you can put him in any position you need to fill. So if you want someone behind the ball, you can put Steele side bottom there. If there's a midfielder that is getting away from you in the first half, let's say we play Essendon and Zach Merritt is dominating the first half. Okay, you put Steele side bottom on the ground and your job is to tag him.
Locked down. Yeah.
Or if it gets to the stage where there isn't that obvious kind of move that we need. You can put him half forward. You can put him wing. You can literally place him in any position. I reckon that could be a great role for Steele this year. That he will still be involved in the team, still being an important part of the team. Where we're then also giving the young guys like Ed Allen more of an opportunity as well. So that's just how I see it. Early days.
You made some good points there. The only thing that I reckon is when it comes to the sub, I've always envisaged the sub being a guy who with a lot of leg speed, who can break the lines once the pace is off the game. These a Harrison type, a Harvey Harrison type, that who could come on and really expose the opposition with by that stage their lack of leg speed on the ground. That's the only thing that Steele hasn't got that I think ideally a sub would need.
I'd rather the versatile guy. If he's versatile and has a bit of speed, like you said, then that's a double win. But I don't know. It's just how I see it. I see it differently. Yeah. That's all right. Oscar Steen. I don't want to sound brutal here, but if I was to say who's probably the last player in your list at the moment, who's the 45th man or whatever, it would probably be
Will Hoskin-Elliott.
It wouldn't be Will Hoskin-Elliott. He would be easily top 30, and I say that easily. For new listeners, the YouTubers, Michael has a bit of a dislike for Will Hoskin-Elliott, which is insane because
I'm his biggest fan, but I'm not. It doesn't mean I don't criticise these players occasionally.
You're Will Hoskin-Elliott's biggest fan.
Well, amongst his biggest fans. Does he have many fans?
Yes, I'm a fan, but but big Oscar Steen. It's a bit harsh to say that, but I haven't seen a lot of him yet. But apparently he's been playing more forward, and I saw a bit of footage of him clunking a nice mark. So I reckon that could be a role we see him in more this year, as in the VFL. And I was about to say in the VFL, push into the AFL, but he probably won't. But develop in the VFL more as a forward, because I honestly think we'll be seeing Mason Cox play a lot of VFL footy this year. He'll Ilary Schmidt will be there. So I reckon Big Oscar's going to have to find that second position. Best of luck to him, but he might be struggling to hold his spot on the list. Yeah,
he's had a bad run with injuries since he's been at the club, hasn't he? Anyway.
Yeah. Curtis Taylor, he's training with the AFL boys at the moment. We mentioned him in the last podcast about the former Kangaroo player that we signed to our VFL team. So he's training with the AFL boys, along with Tom McGuan, by the way. And to me, that suggests that we are definitely going to be having a look at him in the mid-season draft. So continue to watch him in the VFL this year. So, all right. So another guy that's been seen at training is Nathan Murphy. He's back. He's officially back in the coaching team. So that's great to see. And then a bit of bad news. Some people would say I'm being selfish by calling it bad news, but we signed Alex Condon, who was meant to be a top 5 pick.
The basketball?
Yes. He was meant to be a top 5 pick in his draft year. He's 211, 212, 213 centimetres.
Yeah, he's taller than Mason Cox, I understand.
He's huge and got a lot of potential. We signed him knowing that if he's a basketballer that wants to play NBA, we signed him knowing if he gets drafted to the NBA that basically, that's the end of it. His contract would be torn up. If he misses out on the draft, he would join us in like July or something like that as a Category B rookie. And it was a long shot for him to make the NBA. So it looked almost certain he was going to join Collingwood. I think there was something like the early rankings. People in the NBA would bring out their top 200 or something like that draft rankings, and he wasn't in any of them. Like, he was just no chance.
He's playing well in this thing.
He's dominating. So ESPN has now done their updated rankings. This is the same page that didn't have him in the top 200. He's now ranked 36. Another website had him between 20 and 40 as well.
Yeah.
So what is amazing news to him is looking like very unfortunate news to us. He would have been a steal. Just get this guy that was meant to be a top 5 draft pick for nothing, and watch him sort of develop in the VFL. Like, he could have been anything. Hopefully for our sake, he doesn't get drafted to the NBA, and he has a bit of a drop of form at the back end of this year.
How much footy background has he got?
Yeah, well, his whole junior, like up until he's like 17, 18.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, I was just saying, he was meant to be a top 5 pick in the AFL.
Oh, sorry. Again, I wasn't listening.
I think I mentioned that twice.
Yeah, that's in here over times.
Yes.
I was looking at the posters and the wall behind you, but anyway.
So Kane Corns. This is just a mini I got vomit for me, for Dermott, not Michael's I got vomit.
Yeah.
Love Kane Corns. You Collingwood supporters out there will be like, what do you mean you love Kane Corns? I love Kane Corns. I think he is close, if not the best in the media.
I've warmed to him a little bit over last year.
He's fantastic. He honestly is. And I agree with maybe 80% of what he says. The 20% that he says that I don't agree with, I normally strongly disagree with. And this is one of them. I think he said that Collingwood, this season coming up in 2025, is the biggest make or break season in the history of the game. In the history of the game. Basically because we've put all our eggs into one basket and traded our draft picks away and got mature guys in like Houston and Perryman we got free but paid, $900 a year for, which he doesn't rate. Is he forgetting that we won the premiership 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago? We won the premiership. So we're having one last crack at it, basically. One last crack. Plenty of teams have done that in the past. Your Geelongs, your Sydneys, your St Kildas of 15 years ago. And for St Kilda in that matter, and all the Ross Line teams that we've seen, whether it be the St Kilda teams or the Freo teams, they've come very close, they've topped up, and they never end up winning the premiership. I think that that was in a way the biggest seasons of all time for a club, and they backfired. We've already won our premiership, so worst case scenario, we don't win another one. We've still got one. We've still got one.
Yeah, like it's a bit of an overreaction for him, isn't it?
It's completely over the top, and we've also got a young guy coming in next year by the name of Tom Maguire. So it's not like we're not going to have any young talent coming through the doors. But anyway. John Anderson, I think from The Age, is he?
Yeah, great journalist. Been around for years, had been with the Herald Sun, big Geelong man. One of the better journos out there. What's he said?
Apparently Tassie are targeting Craig McRae. He's the number one target.
I did hear you say that. That's actually old news. I heard that mid last year. I think
it was broken during the week.
No, I heard that.
I think he's been linked, but apparently he is the number one man. He is their target.
Yeah, well, again, I heard it last year, and I think we spoke about it in the pod. But anyway, keep on going.
Well, yeah, Tassie are chasing him.
Well, it would make a lot of sense. Of course, everybody would like him, wouldn't they? Because he's a good coach.
I said to you over text when that news was broken, I said, well, hopefully he gets another flag or two of us, can walk away a 2-time, 3-time Collingwood premiership coach. And if he does leave, which I hope he doesn't, I really hope he doesn't, I want him to be at the club for 10, maybe even more years. But if he does and he walks away a 2-time, 3-time premiership coach, or even just a 1-time premiership coach, we'll love him forever. And potentially, I know it didn't work out with Bucks getting the favourite son to be the new senior coach, but potentially Scott Pendlebury could be a replacement for Fly in 2027-ish, maybe.
You'd want him to do a fair apprenticeship somewhere else.
But there's just some...
We don't make the Tony Shaw mistake again of 30 years ago.
There's just some players that are born to be senior coaches, and like we look at Sam Mitchell, like he went to West Coast as an assistant and was a part of the 2018 Premiership team as an assistant coach. I get that. But it still wasn't a long apprenticeship. He was just made to be a senior coach. I think Pendlebury's in the same boat.
The bare minimum from anyone, I reckon, is 2 years at another club and an assistant.
Okay, so let's just say, hypothetically, Scott Pendlebury retires at the end of this year.
Yeah.
So we'll go into 2026. So say he then comes straight into... Let's just say McRae says, I want to coach for 2 more years, then I'm out of here. Pendlebury, you sit next to me for these 2 years and learn, and then take over in 2028. What?
Yeah, as I said, ideally, I'd like them to go to a different environment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Anyway,
he could imagine if Pendlebury was that next great coach and it wasn't for Collingwood. And then we're looking for a coach like a year or two after because
Yeah, but you got the litany of players. Tony Shaw didn't go to Carlton when he was offered the Carlton job at the end of his Collingwood career. He went straight into coaching, and I think he would have eventually made a good coach, but he was just behind the 8 ball. James Hird is another one. I don't know. Bucks.
North Melbourne offered him that big contract and then turned him down to coach.
Yeah. So there's a lot of them out there.
I know, but anyway, hopefully it's not even an issue. Hopefully Fly just stays with us and we won't even have to think about it. But and Matt Rao, his name continues to get spoken about. Geelong have offered him a farm and all this bullshit, but apparently Collingwood and Essendon are still leading the race.
We're leading the race, are we?
As far as I know.
I don't know. Why would he want to go? Like, they're on the cusp of some big stuff. The AFL going to make them basically win a premiership.
Well, they've been trying to make him win a premiership for the last decade and haven't even made finals.
He's got his best mates up there. Apparently they get over. Kane, you're talking about Kane Corns. Kane Corns reckons they're all overpaid up there. So do we know that he wants to leave?
No, we don't. It's just, but what we do know is he has met with clubs, Collingwood included. So he's met with us, and so he's obviously weighing it up. Whether it leaves is another thing. It's just
because he'd be given the Mitchells obviously coming to the end, and somebody like Ed Allen, while showing a lot of potential, is still a couple of years off. Playing really good, consistent football as an inside mid. A type of hit 2 player, knocking it out to the day costers and to-goies. So I think we're going to need a player in their mid-20s who plays that role and plays it very well. I think Matt Rao is the prototype of that player that we will need. He's got the best second efforts I've seen since Shane Crawford, Nathan Buckley. I watched a fair bit in the last couple of years. I can't, people reckon, that player's trying his guts out. Well, have a look at Matt Rao, and that's how you really try your guts out. The guy's got fantastic second efforts. So I'd really like him, but how much would we have to also, have we got the draft picks to satisfy a deal? Probably not. And we also don't want to overpay the guy if he's already on very good money.
I mean, so I think we can now trade future picks 2 years in advance now. I think that's now finally come in. So we might have the picks. I don't know. How people were saying we couldn't get the Dan Houston trade done because we didn't have anything in the head. Leper finds a way. He always finds a way, Leper. Yeah. So we'll see what happens there. But yes, I agree. Everything you just said about Matt Rao, I'm on board. I agree. Something that I wanted to mention in the last pod, but just forgot. The AFL are a joke. So let's go back to... I'm not even sure if this is Laura Kane and Andrew Dillon. Who's in charge of the picks for him? What's it?
I'm not sure.
Some idiot. Because Collingwood, I'm not sure if the AFL are aware, Collingwood didn't make finals last year. Did we make finals? I can't remember. No, we didn't. Well, that was a rhetorical question. You can be mistaken when you look at his fixture. So isn't it the further down you finish, the easier the draw would be?
Well, I think in fair, don't they take it in the last 2 years? Do they?
No. It's a year prior.
It's a year prior. Okay, fair enough.
So like, this is our first 9 games for a team that did not play finals last year. GWS away, Port Adelaide at home. We should win that one, but it's not an easy game.
They were preliminary finalists.
Yeah, exactly. Bulldogs, Carlton, Sydney and Gabba round, Brisbane at the Gabba, Essendon on Anzac Day. So, Essendon aren't a great team, but we lost to them once last year, drew them once. And Anzac Day is always a 50-50 game, no matter where the teams are on the ladder. After Anzac Day, we go into Geelong, and then follow it up with Fremantle away. That is our first 9 games of the year. Now, let's compare that. In Carlton's first 9 games, they play Richmond, West Coast, North Melbourne, and St Kilda. Carlton, a team they finished 1 spot above us. So guess when Collingwood play Richmond for the first time?
I don't know.
Round 20. We play West Coast for the first time in round 16. We play North Melbourne for the first time in round 11. And we play St Kilda for the first time in round 15. Yet Carlton get them all in their first 8 weeks of the year.
So how many times, do you know off the top of your head, how many times we play Richmond, West Coast and North Melbourne? How many times?
I've got that in my notes.
Oh, okay, good.
We play, so those 4 teams, Richmond, West Coast, North Melbourne, St Kilda, we play none of them twice. Guess how many times Carlton play? They get to play North Melbourne and West Coast twice.
Yeah.
They get to play them twice. And the Carlton get to play West Coast twice before we even get to play them once.
Yeah.
Our double up games, while they get those easy beats twice, we get Brisbane, the reigning premiers. We get them twice. We get the Hawks twice, who are the second premiership favourites. We get Fremantle twice, who are meant to be one of the fancies this year. We play, Carlton twice as well. We get to play Adelaide twice, who aren't great, but they're not the worst either.
No.
And Melbourne twice. Who knows what we're going to get from Melbourne? They could be crap again, or they could be good.
Yeah.
So, how the fuck has this happened? Honestly, you want to know what the funniest part about this is? We're going to finish ahead of them on the ladder still. We're still going to finish ahead of Carlton despite our draw compared to theirs. So I'm not even making excuses right now. The AFR are a joke, but we're going to overcome this.
Yeah. No, good points.
Rightio. One last thing that I wanted to mention before we get to I Got Vomit is the leadership group. So the leadership group hasn't been named, and I bring this up because Black and White United were talking about it on their live stream on Thursday. Apparently Swoop Luke was as well. I didn't actually quite catch that video, but so last year we obviously had Darcy Moore as the captain, Maynard as vice captain. We had Jeremy Howe in there, and Isaac Quainer. I looked at it and I thought, well, Moore and Maynard obviously locks. I like to see both of the Dacos boys now join. I think Nick and Josh, it's time for them. They're at that right age. Nick is coming into year number 4. He's clearly just on field the most inspiring player we've got. I think he sets all the standards on the training tracks too. If he's not a leader of the club, I don't know what is. And I think Josh is a leader too. To me, with Jeremy Howe, and I think they were saying under Black and White United, will he drop out? Not because he's not a great leader, he is. But you've seen
Just
guys
the
in the past, like Pendlebury and Sidebottom and all that, eventually drop out of the leadership group. It's now Howe's time to just concentrate on his own footy. And I was big on Isaac Quainer getting dropped out for one of the Dacos boys, or both of the Dacos boys, but
I think you have to show a bit of faith in him.
That's what they said on the live stream, because imagine the confidence being broke, because he's still a great trainer. He's still
and he's had it was just last year. He just I don't know what happened last year, but you don't want to knock the guy on the head just for one bad year. Yeah, I agree now.
The more I thought about it, so. Yeah, I'd like to see the 4-man leadership group extend to a 5. I'd like to see Quainer hold, along with Moore and Maynard, both of the Dacos boys join, and Jeremy Howe to take a seat back with Pendles and Sidebottom. You can still be a leader without being in the leadership group. Jeremy Howe's always going to be a leader, but let's get this new the guys like the Nick and Josh and Quainer who are in the early to mid 20s. Put them in there. Is there anyone else that you can kind of think of? Maybe I've heard a few people talk about Perryman. He's a great leader. Or was it too early to put something like a Perryman in the leadership group?
How about somebody out of the box a little bit, like out of the traditional leadership box, a DeGoey?
He's getting better, I think, in the leadership kind of way. But it's hard to judge when you're inside the club, isn't it?
Yeah, no, but just a guy who hasn't got those traditional leadership characteristics, but he's very popular with the. I assume we don't know him, we don't know inside the club, but he's the type of guy you reckon who could relate to a whole heap of people. He can relate to the senior guys. He can relate to the new recruits. Like he's kind of a. He comes across as a relaxed, fun type of a guy that can have an influence over the younger blokes. So maybe somebody like a DeGoey.
A lot of people would laugh at that, but I don't hate it. I don't hate it. It's not bad. All right. Anyway, here is Michael with I Got Vomit.
When people get winded on the ground, do they go, does that still happen a lot?
Do you want me to test it out?
No. Because I remember when I used to get winded, you lie on the ground and all you hear is...
Thank you, Robbo. Josh Fraser, Scott Pendlebury, Bobby Hill. What have they got in common? Well, Bobby Hill's about to play representative football. So Josh Fraser, 20 years ago, playing for Victoria, did his knee. Never the same player again. Scott Pendlebury, playing that Gaelic footy a few years ago, broke his finger. And since then, he missed a bit of footy for Collingwood. He's had trouble with that finger ever since. Okay? Bobby Hill's about to play representative football for the Indigenous side. I don't like these representative games for Collingwood players. They're Collingwood players. You're taking them out of a structured environment which we have control over, and these are these very important assets. We're handing them over to another group of another football structure where we lose control. I don't like that. I don't like it at all. I think they should be only playing footy for Collingwood and Collingwood alone. Tightrope walkers. I've always admired tightrope walkers because I admire their skill and their bravery, of course. And Dermott, can I ask you, why do you watch a tightrope walker? Is there somebody on the TV?
I don't.
Well, you never watched the video I gave you for 15 years, Man on Wire. But if you see a tightrope walker on the telly, you're going to look at him because he's death-defying. He or she is death-defying. Okay? That's the whole point that you're watching them. I saw a guy the other week and he's tightrope walking between two very tall buildings in Dubai. I thought, there you go, have a bit of a look at this. He's wearing a harness, a protective safety harness. What's the point?
So he doesn't die?
But that's the whole point of being a tightrope walker. I was trying to think of an analogy. I was trying to think of one last night where somebody's doing something, but then they do something else which is exactly across purposes of the first thing they're doing. But I couldn't think of an analogy, okay? But there's no point. If you don't water it down, I hate things being watered down. If you're going to do something, do it. If you want to be a tightrope walker, be a tightrope walker. Don't freaking go putting on a safety harness. Defeats the purpose. Dermott's new segment.
Who am I?
The most heralded new segment.
We're getting into that very soon. Huge success.
The best thing about this.
Lots of good reviews.
Well, I'll talk about the reviews in a moment as well. The best thing about it was the new music. What was that intro music to it? I like that.
I think it was. I can't actually remember. It was a game show.
Yeah,
I think it was a game show.
Yeah, I like the game show.
Because it's a game. We're playing a game.
Okay. I don't. To begin with, he's been met with rave reviews online, Dermot, for this great new segment.
Yeah, because play along at home when we get to it. It's a lot of fun.
You didn't come up with it. It's not original. You're not Tony freaking Barber. It's been around for 40 years. So why you're getting this isn't even what I'm annoyed about. But why you're getting these accolades for this great new segment?
It's the point system. I think people like the point system.
The point system was in start of the century in the mid-80s.
But I think it's a completely.
But anyway, that's not even what I'm annoyed about.
Oh, you're always annoyed about something.
We're starting from scratch this week. We're not including last week's. No, we're not.
We are.
And I'll tell you why. I'm going to tell you why right now.
Mm-hmm.
Is because the friend of the show on Black and White United, he said, I got it on the second guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well done to him, and thank you for his support.
Yeah, so you should have been able to get it then.
Yeah, but it's good he got it on the second guess because he would have been thrown into turmoil on the third guess. He would have become confused because the third guess was that he was a key position player.
He is.
Ben Hudson was never a key position player.
Ruck is key position.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
Key position is centre half forward, centre half back.
It's key position, you big
back.
dope.
That's not key position.
Yes, it is. Are you serious?
I've never considered...
I didn't want to say ruck for the third question because then it would become too obvious. It's going to get easier as you go along. So I couldn't say ruck at that point.
No.
Well,
I think
yes.
Let's put that out to the AFL community.
Is Darcy Cameron a key position player?
No, Darcy Cameron is a ruckman.
A ruckman is a key position player.
No, key position has always traditionally been your full forward, centre half back, full back. That's key position.
Then what the hell's a ruckman then?
Is a ruckman. He's a ruckman.
It's a key position player.
He's a follower.
A key position player is...
A ruckman is a follower. is in the following division.
You could say a full forward is a forward. He's a part of the forward six, along with the forward pocket. What's your point?
He's a forward.
A forward pocket isn't a key position player.
If you indulge me for a moment, there's every risk that you might actually learn something, Dermot. You might actually want to take a few notes. So a full forward, yes, is a full forward, but he's also a key position player. Whereas a ruckman is a ruckman, and he's a follower. Anyway, moving on. Another thing I didn't like about it is it's too vague. It's too vague. So you said it can be anybody who's got any link to Collingwood whatsoever. Okay? It doesn't have to be a former player. It can be anyone.
Can you please read this out, Michael?
Well, he's just handed me something.
I typed in, is a ruckman a key position player? Please read that out, just the top part.
Okay. Yes, a ruckman is considered a key position player in Australian rules football. So Dermot's Googled this, so no doubt that was uploaded by some 18-year-old. Okay? So let's not take anything on the old internet machine as gospel. Okay, because ruckmen have been followers.
What? It's the AI overview on Google.
Indulge me for a moment. Ruckmen have been known as followers since the day dot of footy. Okay.
Yes, a ruckman is considered a key position player in Australian rules football.
Written by an 18-year-old. Okay. So anyway,
so it counts. You are on 0 points after one.
I'm ripping to shreds this new segment of yours. It's as I said, too vague. You're saying it can be about anybody. Doesn't have to have been about a player. Anybody connected to the club at all. Okay, which is just too vague.
No, it isn't. You're the one that writes the questions, Michael. Make it so the questions it's gettable.
Okay, I'll give you an example.
Oh.
I've got a one here. I'll give you these guesses. Okay?
Well, hold on. We're not up to my segment yet.
This isn't the segment. This is just something that's going to support my argument. Okay, snatched from Sydney Swans by my original club in 1987. I started in the under-19s in 1988 of my next club. That's the first.
Shane Maud?
No. Making my senior debut in 89, I played 244 games, kicking 671 goals before exiting my club in controversial circumstances in 2002.
2002? Mm-hmm. Who was he playing for in 2002?
His club. So he's still at his original club. You listen to the questions?
Yes.
Snatched from Sydney in 87, started in the under-19s of his next club in 88. He made his senior debut of this club in 89. He played 244 games, kicking 671 goals before exiting that club in controversial circumstances. In 2002.
No.
Okay, going on. He missed the 2002 season, and he was recruited by his second club in 2003, playing 28 games and kicking 56 goals.
Wayne Carey?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's a legitimate question under your rules, because it says he can have any connection at all with Collingwood.
Wait, where's the connection with Collingwood?
In about 2010, he came down and helped out the centre-half forwards for a couple of weeks.
Oh, come off it, Michael.
Well, that's under your rules.
You're joking.
So, no, that highlights the
deficiencies. Are you serious?
He's had a connection to Collingwood. He came down and helped coach for a couple of weeks.
Okay, just use your brain a little bit.
No, so I'm saying the answers have to be former players. How about Matt Boyd, the Footscray player who's come down to coach Collingwood? Could he be a potential answer?
Players, coaches, guys that can be on the board, like
on the board.
Well, if they're like, I don't.
That's too vague.
Players or coaches? I don't.
Make it just players and coaches.
You just want a reason to be outraged.
No,
I think anyone with half a brain would know that Wayne Carey wouldn't count.
Just make. And also, what we're going to do when we have this segment, because we are starting over.
No, we're not.
When we have this segment,
we're not starting
over.
We
edit it up. So you ask me the question, I can go away and mull over that question for 10 or 15 minutes.
What?
And then you edit it.
Michael.
So there's no waiting period.
This segment is good. Stop trying to make it boring and just stop being outraged.
Because
half the fun of it is guessing it in the time.
But knowledge isn't about just knowing things off the top of your head. Knowledge is knowledge. You might have to reflect on things.
It's a part of it. It's not changing. And last week counts because your one argument was Ben Hudson wasn't a key position player. Well, I've already proven that he was.
Harry Mackay.
This is the longest I Got Vomit segment ever. Get on with it.
Yeah, Harry Mackay came out during the week diminishing the importance of premierships, saying they don't define you as a player. This reminded me of Grundy when he said a similar thing while at Collingwood. You don't want to be hearing that from your highest paid players. Okay?
He's funny. It's a Carlton player.
I know, but I can sympathise.
We're in no rush to win a premiership.
I can actually sympathise with the Carlton supporters over this because this guy is the highest paid. So the fancy house you live in, Harry, the fancy school your kids go to, the fancy car you drive, your fancy holidays, they're paid for by the Carlton Football Club. This should be your only focus, winning flags. It is important. I think that's it.
What about Dangerfield? How can you rant about
listen, like I said,
is there a more arrogant flog in the competition than Dangerfield?
We don't want to talk about the obvious things that other podcasts.
Okay, I'll just say the most unlikable player in the competition without a doubt, Patrick Dangerfield. That's all I'm going to say. Everyone, if you haven't caught up the news of what Dangerfield was going on about on Twitter and the way he was handling himself, look it up. You'll find it.
So there you go. That is this I Got Vomit section for today. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, now we're getting to everybody's favourite segment, the last segment, Who Am I? Okay, so last week we debuted this great segment. Everybody loves this segment. Everybody except Michael. He's a big sook, and he's only sooking because he got 0 points. So,
I got the answer right in the end. I'm not sure how I got 0 points because I got Ben Hudson right.
Yes, but you said James Podsiadly after 3, and it was your idea. Once you answer incorrectly, you're out. That was literally your idea, so you can't complain about that.
I will complain about that. I'm going to complain about that right now. I was thinking out loud. That wasn't my answer.
Do you want to listen back to that?
No, thank you.
No, because I said, is that your final answer? Yeah, and you said, yes, James Podsiadly.
I just thought I'd sneak in that line, but I didn't get away with it.
And also, you said his name wrong as well. You called him James Podsiadly or something like that.
I don't think I quite said that, but anyway.
But yeah, so last week I gave Michael one. It was Ben Hudson. He got 0 points. This week it's his turn to give me the 5 questions.
You'll be confident to know, Dermott, that the 5 clues I'm going to give you, they're all what I refer to as accurate.
Do you want me to show you again? No, yes, Ruckman is a key position player in Australian rules football.
Let's move on. Let's agree to disagree. Let's move on.
But so you're incorrect. But...
Okay, I'll start. Can I start?
Yes, go on.
So for 5 points, okay, winning a Rising Star nomination with my original club in 1997, but his stint there was cruel by injury.
1997.
So he won a Rising Star nomination.
Oh, nomination, not the award.
Not the award, a nomination.
Oh, I was about to say I could get this with 5, I reckon. But no.
He was cruel by injuries.
Cruel by injuries at his first club.
At his first
in
club.
That year.
Throughout his tenure at his first club. Yes.
Yep. I won't be able to get it. Go to 4.
Okay. 4. He arrives at the Pies in 2001 with a reputation as a very good run-with player.
Okay, 1997. Arrived in 2001.
Yep. Keep in mind, if you give the wrong answer, you're out.
I know there's a player.
I know there's a player. Yes.
I'm almost certain that it is this player. 2001. What year do you reckon he came to the Pies? I reckon it might have been it. I'm going to go for the 3rd one just to be safe.
Okay. For 3 points, it's believed the Pies were attracted by his performances on Nathan Buckley's previous performances playing on Nathan Buckley.
Nathan Buckley. Hold on. So okay, I don't think it is that player. I was thinking Paul Lacuria. I'm not. This is me thinking out loud. Paul Lacuria is too obvious as well. I don't think it is Paul Lacuria. I'm thinking more. So there's guys like Steinford who was around that time. Did he come from Geelong? He was I'm not sure what his record on Buckley was like, but he was a bit of a run-with player. He would have come roughly that time. Fuck. Go one more. I'm going to go for her in the second one.
Okay. For 2 points, my first year, or his first year, was again limited by injury. So his first year in 2001, limited by injury, and his second and last year, before retiring in 2002, looked like he was being overtaken by younger players, but he had a late finals call-up.
Yeah, it's Steinford.
It's Steinford.
Damn it, I should have gone for the
It's
three.
Carl Steinford.
I should have gone for the three. What was your last?
The last for 5 points, performing well in the win over Port and in the prelim over Adelaide that year, I think it was. He then curtailed Des Headland in the grand final.
Yeah, damn it, I got it right, but I'm a bit annoyed I didn't back myself in for the
I thought you might have gone for Brody Holland as well.
Nah,
he came about that time. He could have been described as a run with player. He came over as a forward. Yeah.
I was actually really confident number 4 that it was Paul Akiria, but I'm happy I didn't go with that. I should have gone number 3. I should have gone with the Steinford. I should have just backed myself in.
So what'd you get? 2 points.
I got 2 points. So I'm 2 ahead of you after 1 game each.
I've said enough.
All right. So anyway, before we go, I want to mention one last time the Leon Davis interview. It is going to drop mid to late next week. I'm thinking Wednesday, Thursday. So make sure you get around that. If we're once again very, very grateful to Leon for coming on, and also hopefully this is on YouTube. I'm still need to work it out, but if it is, thank you for joining us. To all our new listeners via YouTube. Hopefully we'll have some footage for you in the coming weeks instead of just the audio. And yeah, that's about it. Any final words, Mick?
Nothing from me, no.
All right. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and give us a 5-star rating on Spotify and Apple. If you want to follow our socials, you can find us on X @IntoTheWoodsPod and on Instagram @IntoTheWoodsPod10. Thanks for listening. We look forward to doing it again soon. See ya.